Criminal court for Davidson County, state's response to requests for discovery. I'm not a lawyer or a legal nurse consultant or anything. State of Tennessee versus Redonda Vaught, March 2019. So this is, I think, kind of what information is going to be shared with the defense and kind of the information they have. I don't know if there's more information or more documents or things like that. But part of it, summary of defendant's interview, this bold part here, some summary of defendant's interview with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, full audio recording will be furnished on a portable electronic device provided by the defense. That was actually heartbreaking that to hear that in court. I don't know. I call her Redonda. I don't know Miss Vaught. I call her Redonda. I've never met her, never worked with her. This is just all something I kind of fell into because it was in the news. It doesn't seem from day one, from what she reported immediately after this happened, has not changed at all, from what I can tell. Okay, to me, that's a sign of, her of innocence, right? Like, she doesn't have to make up a story or remember what she said in detail because she's just saying what she remembers best happened. And I don't know. I've given lots of meds, and I could probably walk out, and you would ask me, "Hey, come here. How'd you do it?" I don't know. I just gave a med. Like, I don't remember the details because in Redonda Vaught today, she went down. She was going to go do the swallow study. She gave the med. She is a newer nurse, and one of the I think the nurse educator from the neuro ICU or step down pointed this out. She was operating under, okay, the patient's unmonitored. I can give this unmonitored. There was nothing, you're not supposed to do it like that, but that's a learning experience. That's not a crime. She was at the Pyxis / Omnicell, whatever you call it. They call it different things. And she was talking. Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. But she's a newer nurse. She hasn't seen other nurses make minor mistakes or made enough minor mistakes herself to realize, no, I've worked at hospitals where you put a sash on and no one's supposed to talk to you, and, time stops and you can focus completely on, what you're doing. So that didn't happen. Okay, those are errors, and as the defense pointed out, system failures also, which I'll get to a little later. But at the end of her, she was just very open about everything, very impressively open. And at the end, she was, asking, I forget the investigator's name, I think also Smith. So before she was interviewed, she filled out, here's something here. I'll talk about the vial of vecuronium, 2 syringes, 1 alcohol prep pad, blah, 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 in the bag, termination letter from Vanderbilt, January 3rd, 2018. So just a month, few weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week after the incident, 26 December 2017. The vial and the syringes had to be sent off to the FBI because TBI, not surprisingly, didn't have the capability to measure vecuronium. This isn't something that they normally test for, so that's understandable. They had to send it off to the FBI, but I don't think it was managed at all. The evidence was not managed at all the way it should have been. The most important evidence in this whole case is the amount of fluid in that 10 ml syringe in which the vecuronium turns out to have been reconstituted, because if that was just saline and then the 1.5 cc syringe was the one with vecuronium, then, oh my goodness, wow. So where'd the other, 8.5 cc's go? Well, no, that's not the case. It's the syringe with the loosely capped blunt tip needle. And I'll talk more about that. So, sorry, I'm kind of rambling, but at the same time, I'm doing my best to be organized with these documents. Um, Written response, open file. Okay. So then we get to. So these are the two people, Chad Jackson, Brittany Flatt, who the two senior people, I think, or at least the ones assigned to the case. I don't really know how this works, but they gave the closing arguments. The Forgive me for saying this, but I think people will understand when I say it. The older woman, not old like old, but older than it seems to me, Chad and or Mr. Jackson and Mrs. Flatt, who gave the opening statement. She was very impressive. I mean, I didn't like the way she phrased some things, but overall, it was impressive, and I get it. I mean, I was open to, you know, the case. I didn't really understand what was going on until I listened to all the testimony. But the closing arguments by Brittany Flatt and Chad Jackson just got my dander up for sure. And just some of the facts of the case. Again, I don't know if it's worth going through all of this. I'm assuming that if you're watching this video, you probably are aware of all these facts. If not, you should make yourself aware. You can get this document yourself from the TBI. All the things that look horrible, she admitted, or she administered Versed before. And that's one thing, I guess I'll get to this, but I think Chad Jackson mentions that this doesn't happen often, right? This is a big deal. We need to prosecute this. Okay, no. We don't know how often this happens because never before has there been a secret leak, right? So Vanderbilt treated it as a process improvement situation. It was a medication error. We need to improve the process so this doesn't happen again. And I think they behaved, from the incident, they behaved consistently. I believe them in that. I don't think there was any kind of nefarious, I don't think they threw Radon under the bus. Not suggesting she get counsel while she was fired, 2 weeks or a week, 2 weeks, pretty quickly after the incident. But Vanderbilt didn't view it as a criminal act, didn't report it as a criminal act. So, I don't think it would even cross their mind to suggest, okay, you should get a lawyer. And then going into, talking to the TBI, it's not like she was an employee of Vanderbilt. So I'm not into all this, conspiracy theory stuff. I think this is just incompetence on the part of the prosecution and incompetence on the part of TBI because there's no excuse for why they didn't measure the amount, right? I don't know that would be the fingerprint specialist's job. I mean, he just basically extracted the liquid so that he wouldn't, bump the syringe and lose some. I mean, so I don't blame him. I don't know who would be responsible, but it is unacceptable and incompetent that Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, as an institution, because I don't know who the individual is, didn't measure the amount in the syringes, because that's the evidence. We don't know how much the patient got. We only know how much is left. CMS says it was 8 mLs. Well, we're going to get to, and then the FBI, by the time, so TBI, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, fall of 2018 had this. FBI received this sample, and they'd been, I think, extracted from the syringes. The evidence, right, in January, February of 2019, and then off the top of my head, hopefully these years are correct. It wasn't until 2020, I think February 2020, that the FBI measured the amount. Well, I mean, that's not incompetence. That's just, they're busy, right? That's a sign of how, and the pandemic probably slowed them up and stuff like that. So, we'll get to that. But anyway, this this is the sad part. TBI warnings as to constitutional rights. This breaks my heart. She signed all this, read to her. You can't say, she wasn't made aware, but I don't think it's sunk in what was going on. I think she was just there thinking, okay, I didn't commit a crime. I need to be as open as possible to help, this not happen again, which that's the attitude that nurses should have in situations like this. I think Radonna did the right thing, except, more skeptical, seasoned people would have been like, I'm not saying anything to you unless I have a damn lawyer here, because some damn prosecutor like Glenn Funk or Chad Jackson or Brittany Flatt is going to take this and hang me with it. That's why you have a lawyer with you. That's the lesson from all of this. You need a lawyer with you to defend you against other lawyers who don't give a damn about you as an individual or your intentions. Okay, and I'll get to what I think the motivation was. So, sorry, I could even be more, irritated. I'm trying to hold back here. So at the end of the interview, you listen to the whole thing. She's very open, very honest. Then kind of asks more or less, so what's the next step? And then the investigator says, well, I'm going to submit this to the DA's office, or I think the state attorney. I don't know all this legal nonsense. But I call it nonsense because it's all performance. I mean, it's just disturbing how it's not objective. It's not objective. That's for sure. The law is not objective. It's just the way it is. It's not. And if you think it is, then you don't understand how language, and you don't understand language or human behavior. So anyway, at the end of the interview, Radonna says, "Oh, right, so I should get a lawyer?" And you just think, "Oh, my heart breaks. My heart broke. Girl, you should have gotten a lawyer before you went to the TBI." And then all of this was used against her, and hearing her own voice. I mean, it's just sad. I still, given all of that, I don't think she should have been convicted of anything. But it just breaks my heart. And it's a lesson, if you're a decent, trusting person, some slick talking lawyer is gonna take advantage of you for sure. That's the way the world works. It's like used car salesman.